me, I feel certainly the role of leaders needs to be articulated very early on, and for them to recognise that they have such a crucial role to play in building the credibility, in creating the safety, in building confidence amongst their own teams. I certainly like to make sure that I know who all the leaders are, the most critical ones. And I think leading at all levels is really important. There's an assumption often made that, oh yeah, you're leading, and then we ask you to, to ride off into the sunset and lead. And I don't feel it's like that. And I feel, there are points in the journey of a transformation where people need to be led in different ways to do different things. And I think unless we are able to support leaders to be clear with them about what they're being asked to do and when, then it's a hard ask for them to lead.
And the majority of people who are in leadership positions in lots of organisations and enterprises have got there by leading in a certain way, which is driven by the organisation they're in and the structure that they're in. What we're talking about now is almost sort of breaking that structure and creating a new one. So why should anybody expect these very experienced, very successful individuals to have been sprinkled with some fairy dust over the weekend and now understand that there are differences between what I've been doing all of my career to get to this exalted position to what I'm now being asked to do? And I think that it's important that as a starting point, if you like, part of the first phases we've talked about engaging leaders and engaging workforce is helping leaders to prepare. We talk about the capability and capacity of an organisation. There's the capability and capacity of individuals.
Clearly, you need to inspire people about a better future, but also you need to be able to have a conversation with somebody about letting go of everything that currently sustains them. That is a difficult conversation. The easier conversation is it's bright, there's a lovely future out there, let's go. The harder conversation is now, what does that mean in terms of what I'm expecting you to let go of, which might be routine, it might be status, it might be competence, it might be a whole range of things. Having the emotional intelligence as a leader to understand that for yourself and then help somebody let go and grieve loss, frankly, the loss of something is a sophisticated form of leadership that isn't naturally prevalent in an organisation in a steady state. And therefore you have to build new capability as a leader to lead change in an emotionally intelligent way, and therefore your self-awareness and your emotional resilience and your influencing style are critical focal points for us.
Need to wear multiple hats during the transformation. And I can think of 3 specific hats that they need to wear. They need to be the architect, the coach and the coxswain, and I'll explain that. So as the architect, what they have to do is to define a clear and compelling rationale for transformation and a clear vision of what that organisation will look like post-transformation, how it would work, what it means for the people that work in it, what it means for the customers it serves, and what it means for the suppliers that make up their wider ecosystem. As coach, they have to create the right environment for transformation and bring their people along with them. And then finally, as coxswain, because although in the role of architect they define a clear, compelling vision for the future, what they need to do is to recognise the fact it's a journey towards that destination. And through that journey, things will change. You also need to make sure that the organisation is still with you. So you still need to monitor the level of energy and the morale within the organisation to make sure that any interventions that are necessary are undertaken to keep people on board, right? Or whilst you're trying to keep the business running business as usual.
And it takes 2 things. I think Collins was right. It takes professional will and humility. In equal measure. You have to have the resolve to make change happen for the organisation, but you have to have the humility to know that you don't have all the answers.
Exactly.
And other people do. And those 2 things, in that context of the roles you've described, are critical. And if your leaders don't display those, you're going to have trouble.
at an exco level, you've got accountability for the culture of your organisation in a way that was never measured before. Because of course, what gets measured gets done, and if that hadn't been measured, and of course now you've got Glassdoor, now you've got other ways of getting feedback from organisations, and Me Too's and all those things, which collectively are beginning to make a difference. And that's something that maybe some senior leaders might not have had to consider before, or they might have done earlier in their career, and they thought, oh, it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to get measured for that. I'm going to get measured for this. But it's interesting that thankfully, is coming full circle now.
And I think leaders who lead well through transformation will become exceptionally good leaders in the transformed organisation as it's in that state, having post-transformation.
So you're modelling the new world in how you're transforming.